The movie starts with a man named Leonard. He is walking on some dock with some clothes from the dryer. The atmosphere is tense. He then steps over the edge and jumps in the water. We hear a woman saying, "I love you but I have to go." Leonard at the last minute changes his mind and fight for his life to get back to the surface. He gets out of the water on time asking for help. Some strangers come by and help him out of the river. Someone recognizes him as the guy who works at the dry cleaner down the street. Later Leonard gets back home as his mother prepares for dinner. She is shocked seeing him all wet. He tells her he fell into the water. She is so confused and tells the dad, "I think he tries again." The dad knocks on the door, saying you should take your pills. He adds the man buying their business is joining them for dinner and he would love Leonard to be with them. Leonard agrees. The doorbell rings and the buyer with his family arrive. Leonard dresses up and then joins the rest sitting in the living room. The dad introduces his son, who says hi to everyone, but when shaking Sandra's hand, the daughter of the buyer, he feels something. The dinner then takes place as everyone enjoy a good conversation. The dad says his son helps with their dry cleaner business but he is also a great photographer. The buyer then has a proposition and wants Leonard taking pictures at the kid upcoming bar mitzvah. Leonard doesn't want to do it, the dad tells him to try. Sandra then wants to see his pictures. They go to his room. He grabs the pictures while both talk about their love for film. Sandra is extremely impressed by his pictures and realizes there is no people in them. Sandra sees the photo of a woman and asks who is that. He says, it's Anne, his ex-fiancée. She asks what happened between them. He says they had a disease issue that having kids will kill them, and she didn't want to adopt. She is so sorry to hear that. Sandra then reveals that their parents wanted both of them to meet. Leonard is disappointed. Sandra then changes and says, I am the one who actually wanted to meet you. She saw him at his parents' store and she was mesmerized. Leonard is flattered. His mom calls them for dessert and they head down. Before leaving, Leonard puts the picture down. The next day, he then goes home and hears a couple arguing. The girl named Michelle leaves and sees Leonard, as her father keeps screaming at her. She says sorry for her father screaming. Leonard asks if she is okay. He offers her to come in for a little bit. She accepts until the crazy dad calmed down. Once inside, the mom is surprised, but Michelle says, I'm your neighbor. Michelle wanders around the apartment as both joke around. She adds she is new to the building. She also realizes his bedroom and thinks she saw him through her window. The mom spies on them while both get to know each other. Michelle keeps getting to know Leonard. The dad then arrives. Leonard introduces them to each other. They are about to eat, so Michelle decides to leave. He walks her out. After it, the family sits for dinner. The parents asks about her. The dad repeats to his son that he really wants him to take those bar mitzvah pictures, and adds Sandra is also coming to lunch. Leonard says he will come, don't worry. The next day, the mom wakes Leonard up saying, you were sleeping all day. She gives him his pills and reminds the lunch with Cohen's, the buyers. Leonard is then stepping out of the building when he sees Michelle. He decides to follow her, up to the train station. He looks at her from far. Then goes to her but then changes his mind. She notices him and says hi to him. He pretends he didn't even see her. She asks if he is going to the city. He lies that yes. She say, great, you can keep me company. They get in the subway and get to know each other. Michelle is an assistant lawyer. Michelle then asks him if he could anything in the world, what would that be? He responds, photography. She finds him so cool. She then gives him her phone asking for his number so they can text. Michelle arrives and she leaves. He wants to walk with her. Outside, both get to know each other more. She arrives at her location and they say bye to each other. Later, Leonard gets home. The dad screams at him, where were you all day? We were worried. The dad is disappointed he didn't show up the lunch with the Cohens. Leonard gets to his room and calls Sandra, apologizes for missing the lunch. She says it's fine. He then invites her to watch a movie or something. While on the phone, he sees Michelle through his window. He hangs up, takes photos of Michelle. Because of the flash, she notices it and is amused by it. She says she is going out dancing and asks about it. He says he doesn't know, maybe going out. She invites him to come with them. He agrees. Leonard sneaks out of the house and joins Michelle in a car with another friend, Stephanie. Leonard makes everyone laugh during the ride. Michelle then asks Leonard if he goes clubbing a lot. He pretends that yes. They arrive to the club as the bouncer let them in. Inside, Leonard takes Michelle dancing. They are having such a great time, getting close. Michelle then receives a call and leaves going outside. Leonard follows her and finds her crying. He pushes her to tell him what's happening. She reveals that it's about the guy she is with. She was supposed to meet with him tonight, but now he says he can't make it. That guy wants to stay with his wife. She reveals that he is married and has a son. She feels stupid as he hugs her. He tries to comfort her and wants to take her home to calm her down. She agrees. Michelle then goes inside to get her bag. Meanwhile, outside, Leonard is pissed to find out she had a boyfriend. Long time later, Michelle is still not coming out. He tries to get back inside, but the bouncer doesn't let him in. Frustrated, he goes back home. He listened for his voicemail, and there is one message from Sandra. She changes her plans with him tomorrow as their parents meet, so they should meet then. He then sees Michelle through the window. She then texts him, "Are you up?" He calls her. She says she is sorry because she passed out in the bathroom of the club. He tells her the situation with your boyfriend is bad. She adds she knows, but he pays for this apartment. She adds that her boyfriend is actually amazing and brilliant. She then invites him to have dinner, her and her boyfriend. The next day, Leonard is dressing up as his mother watches him. He then goes to the city and finally meets the boyfriend of Michelle. They get to know each other. Leonard is so uncomfortable seeing them together, especially when he puts his hand around her. Leonard then says, "I should bring my girlfriend next time." Michelle is surprised he has a girlfriend. Michelle then goes to the restroom. The boyfriend gets closer to Leonard. He asks him to keep an eye on Michelle. She may be going back to drugs. After the dinner, the boyfriend and Michelle are going to the opera and saying goodbye to Leonard. As they leave, he gives a last look at her. Later that night, back in his room, Leonard puts some opera music after hearing Michelle likes it. The doorbell rings and it's Sandra. She heard he is home alone, so she came. He keeps talking as she is looking at his lips. He understands and kisses her. Before leaving, she invites him to a party she is having with her friends. She then leaves. The next day, Leonard wakes up to his phone ringing. It's Michelle asking him to meet on the roof. It's 6 a.m. He goes to the roof. She asks him what he think of Ronald, her boyfriend. He doesn't know. He tells her he doesn't think he will be with her for good. She breaks in tears and doesn't know what to do. She tells him, "You are like a brother to me," but that pisses him off. He is tired of it and says we should not see each other anymore. Have fun with your boyfriend. He leaves, slamming the door. Back in his room, he calls Sandra saying he is looking forward to go to the party with her. Weeks passes as Leonard and Sandra got so close. Leonard is then been seen at the Cohens, taking pictures of Sandra's little brother bar mitzvah. The dad gives his speech and introduces Leonard as his daughter's boyfriend. They all light the candles. They all make a prayer, but Leonard's phone rings and he apologizes to everyone. Leonard steps out and takes the call. It's Michelle who apologizes. She is not feeling well. She is bleeding and asks him to come with her to the hospital. Leonard gets to his building where Michelle is in pain. He brings her to the hospital where they sedate her. The doctor announces she miscarried. Hours later, he brings her back home. He watches over her. Ronald then comes in and Leonard hides. He is sorry for not responding her calls because of his wife. She tells him she wants to be by herself. He then leaves. After it, Leonard also wants to leave, but she begs him to stay. He feels bad for her and stays. After some time, she falls asleep. He touches her hand and stops himself. His feelings towards her seems coming back. He leans to kiss her but stops at the last minute. The next day, Leonard is having lunch with Sandra. She gives him a gift. Some nice gloves. He thanks her. He realizes he is somewhere else in his mind. She asks what's wrong. Leonard then seems to be in a hurry as he asks for the bill. She notices it. His phone then rings. He excuses himself to take it. It's Michelle. She says she decides to end her relationship with Ronald. Leonard is surprised. He wishing her luck going, telling him. That same night, his father and Sandra's dad are talking when Leonard enters. Sandra's dad want to meet him tomorrow at his office. He then gets a text from Michelle which he meets on the roof. She announces to him she broke up with Ronald. Leonard seems obsessed with her. She tells him she will leave this town. Leonard tells her, "Don't go, I love you." She is so confused. He repeats, "I love you." She is uncomfortable. He whispers, "I will never leave you," like he did. They then kiss. Leonard get back inside in a good mood. He then gets a call. It's Michelle who found it beautiful. She also adds that she needs to go because Ronald keeps paying for the apartment. He responds, "Then I will leave with you." They then agree to just leave tomorrow. He just want to be with her. To book the tickets, he goes to the living room family, trying to hide from his parents. The mom asks, "What are you doing?" He then books the tickets and goes back to his room. He then starts packing. He throws the picture of his ex-fiancée, then goes to sleep. The next day, he goes to buy a ring. He then calls Michelle saying he got their tickets, he packed and is ready to go. They set to meet at 8 minutes later. He goes to meet Sandra's parents as planned. The dad reminds him not to mess up with his daughter Sandra and how important this entire thing is for both of their families. The dad then tells him, "See you tonight to celebrate New Year's together." The evening arrives and the celebrations start. The dad goes upstairs to ask Leonard to open a box. He was preparing to leave. He tells him, "I'll be right there." He opens the window and drops his bag, then go to the party to help his dad. He then leaves trying to sneak out, but Sandra and her parents arrive. He hides and then leaves, but his mom catches him at the last minute. She says she saw he checked travels yesterday on the computer. She asks, "Are you going with her?" He says yes. He gives her a big hug. She tells him, "I love you." He adds, "Tell Papa I'm sorry." He then leaves. He steps out waiting for Michelle. He calls her and leaves a voicemail. She is still not there. He throws rocks at her window but no answer. She then arrives with her bag. She tells him, "I'm not going." She reveals that Ronald left his family for her. He told his wife everything. Leonard is destroyed inside. He screams to her to go as she apologizes. She leaves. While people are celebrating the new year, Leonard is depressed and walks around. He looks at the ring and throws it in the river. He goes to the beach. He feels the water as tears come down his face. He cries as hard as he can. The glove Sandra offered him as gift falls. He picks it and starts realizing. He then goes to find the ring he threw. Minutes later, Leonard comes back to the family party. He sits down as her mother looks at him with a smile. Sandra is also there smiling at him. He stands up going next to her. He tells him, "I got you a gift." She opens and it's the ring. He cries and Zhu tells her he is happy. They both kiss. The movie ends as they both hug.